Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Surviving UX podcast. I am Meg Kramer. My co host is Jessamyn Edwards. We are here to pull your face out of that design file, turn on this podcast, go for a walk, do your dishes, and take a good old fashioned break. Jessamyn, do you ever get so invested in like the minutia of a design and like moving all the boxes around? And it's been happening to me recently, and
Hmm.
I'm just like spending, I don't know, some unknown amount of time just sitting there renaming all my layers because I
Oh
think that's a
yeah.
great use of my time.
I I'm so guilty of this. I actually I've learned to use this as a tool to get myself started on something that I don't want to
Oh,
do or I'm procrastinating. Is I tell myself just go in there and do something meaningless, like rename layers or click around and update something.
yeah.
Just
Yeah.
touch it. And then once I start touching it, then I'll start tweaking it and then I'll get the work done. But
That's actually
I
a good
yeah,
tip. I like that. That's a hot tip. Hot tip
yeah.
from Jessamyn, right at the top
Oh
of the
yeah.
pot.
Queen of procrastination coming at ya with hot
You
tips.
got anything else going on?
So this week has been pretty good. I'm healthy. The family is healthy. Thank goodness. The weather's been nice. So I feel like this has been a pretty good week. Um, I don't know, nothing crazy. I am trying to eat healthier this week. I did not do my usual vending machine, fast food, Costco, hot dog like meal plan that I'm on. So I'm trying to figure out ways to be healthier on the road when I'm commuting and stuff and away from home. And I did good this week by like grocery shopping instead and hauling groceries around on on the metro and the train and whatnot. But yeah,
Do you have one of those
I've had a good
carts?
week.
Like a
Oh,
push cart?
I wish. I have a backpack. I try to cram everything in the backpack. And then sometimes I have an overflow bag, but that's about it. I don't allow myself. I used to take a suitcase. I can't even believe I used to do this.
Uh-huh.
For 2 nights, I would have a full-blown suitcase. Now I just rewear 80% of my outfit. Don't tell anyone. And yeah. So that's why I sit alone in the
Another
office.
hot tip from Jessamyn.
Exactly.
All right. Well, it's a good time for us as we move into our topics here to remind folks, we used to in our first season make our disclaimer a lot, but it's a good reminder that this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Today, we're going to talk about some in the news topics. And we are going to talk about some real companies that really exist in their real lives that have made their way into the news. But we'll really only be talking about topics, content, info that's been publicly reported or shared out by those entities. And I just want to say, kind of on a meta level, like it's hard to be sometimes working at a company and knowing where you can and can't share certain things. So
Hmm.
I think that's a topic that you and I think about a lot being in this profession, right?
Yeah. Gotta watch it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
our podcast hasn't really talked about the Figma Adobe acquisition from the UX perspective, but also from the M&A perspective. So if you recall 2 episodes ago, our guest Dor talked about his entire like UX career history. And one of those steps in that career, he described himself as a victim of acquisition or a victim of a merger,
Mm.
because his role was eliminated after one of those transitions. And lots of big stuff can happen during these like business decisions that we as employees don't have any control over.
Right.
And can have real implications like it did for Dor in terms of, his life. So like, Jessamyn, what comes to mind for you just generally when you think of like the concept of mergers and acquisitions?
The only experience I've ever had as an employee going through, I guess it was a merger, was like a lot of confusion because
Hmm.
they renamed our company and then they had these big parties to
Mhm.
celebrate the renaming. And I remember like a big stage, and someone got up on the stage and was talking, and I was like, I guess I'm supposed to be excited right now, but I don't really
Mhm.
feel anything inside. I kind of just want to go back to work. And then confetti falling from the ceiling, and I was like, what? Are we supposed to feel excited? And then these
Yeah.
cupcakes that they had served, and the cupcakes had the new logo on
Hmm.
them. And I thought somebody made cupcakes with this like new business name, and I guess I'm gonna eat these cupcakes.
Oh
And I
man.
just thought, like, what a waste of time. And the thing I think that really cemented that feeling that this was all a waste of time is that the company name changed again
Hmm.
after a very short amount of time. And so I kept going back, and it was just like a press release. And I
Uh-huh.
kept thinking about that guy on the stage and the confetti and the cupcakes, and that all of that was just like for naught.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's what I think of when I think of mergers. What about you?
Yeah. Well, what like the one word that stuck out to me from what you were describing is work. Like
Yeah,
I I think of just the work involved. And there's work obviously all over the place, all over a business when a merger or acquisition happens, and on either side. And I feel that for the most part, it's not a celebration. It's new expectations of demands on what your current projects are, what your future projects might be, and it's just work.
right.
And so I that's what I think of is work. Any
Like a
survival tips?
rebrand. I
Yeah, a rebrand, just any like I think I wonder if there's as much understanding about how much on the ground work there is to unify experiences or to make, the things that are coming together make sense together. Maybe it makes
Mhm.
sense from a business perspective, maybe it makes sense from a financial perspective. Um, but you and I are like on the ground sitting around thinking about the user experience, and I'm like, does it? And again, I want to say talking generally about mergers and acquisitions, no specifics here. So that's what I mean by work. You got
Yeah.
any survival tips? Anything you think if folks
I
are out
mean,
there going through something like this?
the biggest thing I think that, like you said earlier, that I have been thinking about a lot is that this is beyond people's control.
Yeah.
And I always, whenever I check LinkedIn and I see those long emotional posts about people who have been laid off and they got laid off in like a rude way or an impersonal way, and they're so heartbroken.
Hmm.
And I just think like, I really hope that they really understand that this isn't about them whatsoever. It doesn't reflect on them. How people behave doesn't reflect on them. The choice to do something like merge a company or acquire a company or lay off a worker, it's literally dollars and cents on a spreadsheet. It
Hmm.
has zero to do with someone's performance or personality or any of that. And that I hope people give themselves some grace that this isn't like you weren't doing well, so therefore we've sold the company out from under you. It's
Yeah.
not about them at all. And I do think that people in general need to learn to be more transactional about their jobs. I really feel like this is a skill that has gotten lost along the way. You're there to collect a paycheck and they're there to get the work out of you. And at the end of the day, that's really what the bottom line is. And I think I see so many of my friends and family, stressing about work, ruminating about work, agonizing about this or that happened at work, and I just think like it's just a job.
Hmm.
It's just a job. I mean, obviously we all need to work, right? We all need to have a living, and it's great if your job is great. And we spend decades of our lives working, and so it does matter, right? If it feels good when we show up every day and what we do.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, like, companies close and people get laid off and it happens, but it doesn't mean that that person isn't, you know, a good person. So that's my
Hmm.
survival tip, is to sort of take yourself out of the equation sometimes with the bad stuff,
Hmm.
because it's just business, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah. And and I think that's why for you and would have or would be for most people is getting a cupcake at that moment like doesn't feel equal to what you're feeling on the inside. So it's it's just it's such a mismatch with probably how a lot of people are
It
feeling.
was a giant waste of time and resources. I like
Yeah.
whoever was happy about that in that moment. I hope they were at that party eating those cupcakes, because it wasn't me. And yeah,
Yeah.
I honestly I've gotten to the point now where really lavish corporate stuff is a turnoff to
Hmm.
me. Even if it's like
Hmm.
I'm involved, and I'm participating, I just find it kind of atrocious because of our economy. It's not the time to be doing that kind of stuff,
Hmm.
you know? Yeah.
Yeah. And
That's
it's
my
really hard. I'll speak to anecdotal conversations I've had with other designers at companies where layoffs are happening is just the any sort of event or activity like that where your colleagues were laid off recently, it just doesn't feel good at all. Like does
yeah,
not feel good. Um and yeah, I mean maybe some people disagree, but I think people are really smart and intuitively know that laying people off for financial reasons doesn't match with having a big party to
party,
try
right.
to feed you sugar and confetti and make you happy with
Yes,
that.
exactly,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
I know.
Well, so this Figma Adobe deal was a pretty big one in the tech industry. Are there any other ones, notable ones that you can think of, that have happened in the last decade or so that kind of made some waves out there?
For UX, I mean, honestly, I feel like our tools, they're always kind of changing. And also, I've gotten to the point where I don't really care about tools anymore.
Hmm.
So I don't feel like, oh my God, this new tool is going to turn it all around for me. I can't wait. Like, I can do my job with a word processor, a spreadsheet,
Hmm.
and a notebook,
Yeah.
and then, maybe some sort of like a coloring
Yeah.
coloring app. So I really don't care about tools anymore.
Yeah. I
So I
think
don't, yeah.
I think one of the maybe the big ones that I can remember is the Slack acquisition by Salesforce.
Oh,
I don't know how for me if the experience of using Slack has changed all that much since that happened, which is somewhat great news from a user perspective. But there were likely a lot of changes, with the kind of going from a company of that size to being absorbed into a monolith like Salesforce.
yeah.
Oh, and I was going to say, that's another one that was kind of making the news in terms of size. So with the Figma and Adobe deal, the first announcement for that that this acquisition was going to be attempted was in September 15th of 2022, which now is like a whole year and a half ago. Do you, Jessamyn, a lot of designers use Figma, and you were just saying the tool doesn't really matter to you, but how do you think
Yeah.
it was to hear this news? Was it just like a blip, not
I
important,
yeah,
or
I kind of was like, oh, because I think of it as a standalone. And I think when I switched to Sketch, probably that was 2015,
Mhm,
that was a standalone. And so I got used to doing, like, these singleton tools that weren't part of a package deal.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for me, the only thing I sort of was curious about is like, well, if it moves into the suite, would I then have, 12 new icons on my desktop? And then, you know,
Yeah.
like, and then I have to kind of relearn some of those things because I haven't used them in quite a while. But um, yeah, I I do feel like with the UX tools, one and done is fine with me.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing is that sometimes you feel the pain on like some of the editing stuff if you're trying to edit like a photo or an image or something like that. You're
100%.
like,
Oh my
ouch, ouch,
gosh.
ouch,
Yeah.
this isn't working and they don't
Yeah.
have that thing.
I
Or you try to
know.
illustrate something in there, and it's like, ooh, that's not quite, it's
Yeah.
not working so hot.
Just some
Um,
lightweight tools
yeah.
in some of those capacities for sure.
Yeah.
So the deal fell through. So that was somewhat more recent news. That was in December of 2023. So it took a whole year plus to go through all the regulators before the deal ended up falling through. And this was a really big amount of money. So $20 billion. And the most recent article that I read about this was published by the New York Times this February, that talked a little bit about like the employees' experiences at Figma because they were expecting like a windfall after the acquisition.
Ah,
And so the
oh
article is
boy,
all
what a
about like
letdown.
picking up
Yeah.
the pieces. Yeah. And so it talks a lot about how like people invest in startups, not just the employees that are, that have like their compensation tied to how well a company is doing and owning parts of the business, but also investors who invest in companies. Everybody's just kind of waiting for that big payout. The author of the article talks about how this might change in Silicon Valley of
Yeah.
investment strategies, if acquisitions are not going to be quite as easy maybe
As
as
lucrative.
they were.
Mm.
Just fascinating because to kind of go back to the topic of just like what happens to employees in mergers and acquisitions, these were, there were employees that were, according to this article, going to really benefit. And because the deal fell through, that's
Hmm.
that's maybe no longer going to be the case, at least in that
Yeah, I mean,
in that
Figma was a
scenario.
startup, right? And
Hmm.
and so when people go to work for startups, they usually get paid in equity.
Right.
So you can only imagine that there were people there who probably had quite a bit of equity and were hoping for that stock price to jump.
Yeah.
So and it probably did, at some in some way. But
They were
yeah.
private, I
Oh, they
believe.
were
So
private.
yeah.
Okay.
Um, so
Interesting.
so there, but I think in the Slack case that I referenced before, they were public before being acquired, and something along those lines, definitely
Wow.
happened. Well, before we move on to this from this topic to other in the news or recent events, I just want to note that the CEO of Figma, 31 years old. Can you
Mm.
imagine being a 31-year-old and on the brink of the biggest tech acquisition in recent history?
I think it's really speaks to, those guys, the founders, right? Their whole thing was multiplayer. Like it
Hmm. Hmm.
wasn't that they were reimagining design software.
Hmm.
They were basically recreating design software, but making it multiplayer. It was that one feature
Hmm.
that allowed them to steal the majority of the design market.
Hmm.
So, like, it's kind of amazing because I do remember like when Sketch came out with its versioning tool, I forget what that was called. And I remember we tried using it, and it was supposed to be like you check the file in and out, sort of like
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
people check in code in and out.
Yep.
And it was really hard to use. It was clunky, and it didn't really meet a need for me because usually, I mean, and this is the case a lot where it's one designer on a team. So I don't have six people in my file, and I don't
Hmm.
want six people in my file. So I think that like this
I think us
idea,
older designers don't
yeah,
want multiple people in our files, to be quite honest.
exactly.
I
Get
remember when
out.
this concept emerged and just like looking across the table to some people and just being like, what? This
Don't
feels very
touch.
surveillance state, like
Uh-huh.
big brother coming in. Now I feel like I'm just like, whatever, I don't care.
Oh, I still care.
You really want to be in this
Be in here.
absolute junkyard? Great. You try to find what's important.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Get something done.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. But I think it's cool that they were like, no, this will make a difference. That this is worth years of our time.
mhm,
Because I think they spent several years kind of getting it off the ground to try to take this market. And it was so crazy because Sketch was such a disruptor.
mhm,
It was cheap. A standalone. I forget, I think it was Mac only. There were so many things about it that were so different, and
mhm.
it just felt like a new
And it
day.
was supposed to be, I mean, I think now they are on subscription model, but it was supposed to be $100 for life.
Oh,
I think
yeah,
that
I
was also the other
remember.
thing was that
It was
it's
99 bucks. That's right. And then
yep,
it went to 129 at some point. But yeah, it was very affordable
yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
All
Yeah,
right. What other
that's
things are
cool.
going on in the news?
So I wanted to, I enjoyed reading this article in the New York Times around personal tech, and they were asking the question. It was a roundup of technology improvements in 2024 or 2023, I guess. And are they getting better or getting worse? So I thought, Meg, I would do a rapid fire with
Okay.
you, your hot take on some personal tech in your life. Is it
Mhm.
getting better? Is it making your life better, or is it making your life worse? Um,
Not
Number
that the
one,
tech is getting better, just that my life is
no.
getting better. Okay.
Well, ultimately, right, it's about the experience. So even
Yeah.
if the tech is getting better, is it making your life
Is
better?
it
So
making my life
that's the
better? Okay.
test, right?
Okay.
That's really
Yeah.
what matters at the end of
Yeah.
the day. So number one,
Okay.
streaming services. So think
Okay.
like Netflix,
Yeah.
Spotify, etc.
If I had
Streaming,
all the money in the world making my life better, we just decided that we're going to have to crack down and start getting rid of some of our subscription services.
yeah.
So, plethora of content that I can consume. I think that's great. I don't watch everything out there, obviously, and some of it's crap, but like I like being entertained. I like having music. I like playing stuff on Spotify for my kid.
Uh-huh.
So I say my short answer is making my life better if subscription fees weren't going up.
Right. Keep it cheap.
Yeah.
Keep it cheap. All right. How about virtual reality? Are you guys virtual reality
I
headset owners?
Nope. I tried on one once and I have like a slight sensitivity to like stuff that messes with your
Uh,
inner ear, made me
uh-huh.
feel very sick.
Uh-huh.
I probably won't be somebody who like adopts that kind of stuff unless like I can't even wear noise canceling headphones that go over my ears because it changes the pressure and they just
Whoa.
super nauseous. Yeah. So like
Oh
anything that's
boy.
gonna alter that a whole space for me, not happening. So
Yeah.
negative for that, but that might be my own personal issue.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, the nausea thing, I have experienced that from both wearing a virtual reality headset. We do own one. And
Oh.
even just from watching somebody play a video game,
Hmm,
I've
hmm.
had like
Yeah.
kind of a
Yeah.
yuck. Um,
I will say
yeah.
here on this podcast, although first of all, you should not trust medical advice from two random people talking about UX on podcasts.
I'm a doctor.
But
Just kidding.
women tend to be more susceptible to vestibular conditions, like vertigo and things like that. And they're wildly
Hmm.
under researched, like have very, very few answers for people. So if you're like, what is wrong with me? It's probably because there's not enough research being done around the condition that you
Mm.
probably have. So anyway, go check it out.
Interesting.
Talk to your doctor, insist that they believe you.
Okay.
Okay, what's the next one?
AI chatbots. So,
Oh,
whether you're encountering your chatbot or your AI, in a prompt situation or a chat situation, are you using AI right now for
yeah,
anything?
for some stuff. And obviously you encounter it like everywhere. um I was calling something. I'm not 100% sure if I can remember what it was, but probably some insurance thing or something where I got an automated message and they were like, we are going to use your responses, use AI to evaluate your responses. And I was like, that's really
Huh.
interesting that you're telling me
Telling
this.
you.
Yeah.
Maybe so
I
it's
don't
like a
know.
disclaimer,
Yeah,
like anything that that thing says,
I
just
didn't know why they had to do that. And I guess I kind of expected that like all these automated systems are a little bit like sentient beings anyway. I would
did
say
you
jury's out on this, to be
okay.
honest. I want to be hopeful on
Yeah.
this because I think the only other option is that you fear every day that the robots are going to win. And I don't think that that's a good way to live life. So I'm hopeful that this is going to improve
Hopefully they get
things.
better. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
improve people's lives.
yeah, I mean, customer service continues to just be the bane of everyone's existence. And so hopefully this can only get better. But I did read an article recently that an airline used a chatbot, obviously for their little customer service, and somebody was asking about bereavement fares or
Mm,
whatever, and then they got told that their change their ticket change would be covered because it was under bereavement. And so then they were
mm,
like, well, the chatbot told me that I would get a refund, and they had a screenshot of it.
hmm.
And then the airline was like, "Oh, no, no, that was just a chatbot." And
Oh,
then they went to court, and the court said, "No, if your customer service said they would refund,
haha.
regardless of whether it was powered by a chatbot or not,
Fire
you
the
you
robot.
have." And I'm like, "Gosh, this poor person probably it's like what, $300? Like, just was it worth going to court over?" But maybe for them it was worth going to court over. But now that the judge ruled in the past in the customer's favor, and so yeah, so if we can trick the chatbot into telling us that we deserve a full refund,
What a
then
fun game.
uh-huh, that's what I'm talking about. All right. Next topic, self-driving cars. Do you guys have a self-driving car?
I don't know. We don't even have
No.
electric cars.
Okay.
We don't have cars that were built in the last 10 years, maybe.
Okay. Okay. All right.
But like my family has newer cars and there's some features like that, but I haven't like ridden in something that's automated.
You can
I
take your
just
hands off the
remember
wheel.
a great show, if you can stand the darkness of it, is called, I want to say Upload. And if I'm wrong, I'll correct it on our next episode, where this guy dies and then his like soul is uploaded. It's like a futuristic thing. And
Oh,
he
okay.
dies in a autonomous vehicle that,
Car.
and
Uh-huh.
it's so like it's a dark comedy and
Yeah.
like his like the death is just like it's so funny.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know, but then also like humans are really bad at driving.
Right.
So I'm not sure. I think maybe we should all just stop driving. Even cars. Cars should stop driving, people should stop driving, and I don't really know how we're going to get places or do things that we want to do. I don't have an answer for that, but that's how I feel.
Yeah, I do think this is a question, like a philosophical question of like all of the resources, the research, the money that we pour into improving cars, could it
Hmm.
be spent on improving transit,
Hmm.
making
Hmm.
cities more walkable, more bikeable, having more transit so that you don't have to drive every little place that you could, you know, use transit somewhere now and again. I mean,
Right.
it's really a luxury. I live in a small town. It does have a bus system. Um, but I almost never use it because it doesn't come to my neighborhood. So for me to catch a bus, I actually have to get like 2 or 3 miles down the road.
Hmm.
So it's just not practical, which is a shame because you'd think like the buses should stop in neighborhoods. But anyway, I think it's again like they're doubling down on the driver experience when they're not thinking about the community as a whole, like, or whatever, like the
Yeah.
planet as a whole, and they're going in that direction
Because is there
because,
money in the planet as a
right,
whole? I
there's
don't
more
know.
lucrative.
Yeah.
Right, right. Fair. All right. Chargers.
What do you
Do
mean
you
by
feel like
chargers?
so like device chargers? So
Oh.
recently Europe passed legislation that was saying that they need to make more universal chargers so that they're not reinventing the plugs every year or two and coming out with new plugs. And I
All
feel this
right, all
pain
right.
because I carry a bag of cords with me
Mm-hmm.
every when I commute, and I'll forget one or two or whatever. And I've
Yeah.
got plugs and cords everywhere, and everything's different, and it drives me nuts. So I don't know if it's really getting any better. I feel like USB-C, like let's hope this is the last one. I'm just have my fingers crossed.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think this is maybe where I'm not like optimistic. But I did buy the other day like a 3-in-1. And those are pretty useful if you're
Hmm.
traveling or whatever. Like it's got three different adapters on the end.
Yeah,
And so maybe I should send you one of those as a gift, Jessamyn, so you don't
I'll
have to
take it.
carry so many
Oh,
chargers around with
I
you.
know, right? And
Um,
what about phones? Do you feel like phones are going in the right direction?
do I feel like phones are going in the right direction? Uh, I don't know. What is even new out? Or I don't know because I don't have like a newer phone, and I I don't know.
What's the lifespan? Like, how long do you hold on to a phone before you upgrade?
I don't even know. I can't remember when I got this one.
I think I clock around 5 years,
Oh, okay. All
maybe
right.
4 or 5 years.
I was like,
Yeah.
are you one of those people that like gets one every year? And that's
No.
okay. If that's you, that's okay. That's cool. But that's definitely not me. I'm like if why can't we just have things that last? Why planned obsolescence? We don't like that. No, please. I'd like my washer to work forever. Thank you very much.
Oh my gosh. I just read an article about this that they were saying older appliances work
For longer.
better.
Yeah.
And they were saying that, that people who, more mature or more elderly consumers observe that their appliances don't last as long, they don't work as well, and that cycles take a lot longer because they're
Mhm.
quote energy efficient. So whereas it used to you'd be able to run the dishwasher and it would take 30 minutes, now it's an hour and a half, or to do a load of clothes is 2.5 hours or something. And that, things break more often now.
Mhm.
And they were saying that, appliances just used to be made better. And
Yep.
that's facts.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Getting worse. So it's a
All right.
shame.
So I guess that brings us to the end of the our in the news episode.
Yeah. So that's our take. Basically, it sounds like personal tech is getting worse across the board. Yeah, everything's going south. So you heard it here first, guys. Well, if you need any advice or sympathy for your UX career, write to us at survivingux@gmail.com and have a good week. Bye.
Surviving UX is hosted and edited by Jessamyn Edwards and Meg Kramer. Our theme music is, among other things, the on-home music for Cisco phones, Opus Number 1 by Tim Carlton and Derek Deal. Next time, we may find out how old Meg's phone actually is. It's 2 years old, I was totally wrong. Or what else is in Jessamyn's work bag. So you join us back here for another fun episode of Surviving UX.